Hey everybody, it's Missy. Thank you so much for joining me today for another video. This one is for the Precious Remembrance Shop, and I'm going to be creating a layout using stamps from 4 different stamp sets. This is the Blossom stamp set, and I'm going to use those flowers. I'm also going to use the Date stamp set. This is the Fall Color stamp set, and I'm going to use 2 stamps from this one. And then the Happy Art stamp set. I'm going to use some of the triangles from that one. So this layout kind of changes as I go. I'm going to start with the Blossom stamp set, and those flowers, I've had these stamps for a while, and I've been wanting to create a layout based on these flower stamps, and so that's what I'm going to do today. So I have a piece of scrap cardstock out here, and these are some Prima ink chalks. They're really small, very, very fun colors, and I've had them for a while. I actually had forgotten that I had them, and they're real easy to use with stamps because you can kind of mix and match colors. And so that's what I'm doing here. I pulled out some pinks and some yellows and an orange, and I'm just stamping on maybe 2 colors on each stamp to make a 2-toned flower, I guess you could say. And I like how this is turning out. I think these are going to be really pretty. What I'm going to do is create several of them with each flower. There's 3 different ones, and then I'm going to fussy cut these out because I wanted to make my own embellishments. And this is something fun that you could do with any shape stamp, and if you have scrap paper, because you're going to cut it out anyway. And so, you know, don't throw away a piece of scrap paper if it's got a piece big enough on it still that you can use for stamps, because stamps usually don't take up that much space, and they create small shapes like this. So I cut these all out, and I love how they look, and I thought I would jazz them up a little bit further, and I pulled out some Prima watercolor pencils and my water brush, and I just wanted to kind of see if I could create some fun shading using the same type of colors that are in the inks. And so I pulled out a pink, a deeper red color, yellow, orange, and I'm just kind of using a little bit of water to smudge it around, and I think these turned out really, really pretty. My only issue is once I started doing these, they once I colored them in, I kind of lost the outline of the stamp because the colors blended into the colors that I used to stamp the image in the first place. And so I'm going to show you the difference here once I start to compare these to what I do next. So this was very fun to do. I almost wish I would have just left them as is instead of trying to color them in, because like I said, it kind of takes away from the actual outline of the stamp. It just kind of blends in, and so it kind of just looks like a solid shape, I guess, if that makes sense. You can see there on that one, it kind of loses it. And they look really pretty, but they lose some detail. So I decided to start over and stamp them in black ink. And I like how these turned out a lot better. They just looked a little more clear and crisp, and you can still see the actual outline of each flower petal, even though I'm going to color them in again with the pencils. And you can just see the difference in between the black ink and the colored ink. And they're both pretty. I just wanted to have more of a crisp image with the stamps, and I felt like I lost that when I used the colored ink. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to color them in with the same colored pencils there that I've used before. And I'm just getting different varieties of pinks, a little bit of orange, some yellow, and that's going to be my color scheme for this layout. So I went ahead and cut those out, and I like how those look a lot better because I've got a black and white picture of my sister and me, and I'm going to sort of just kind of place the flowers in a diagonal fashion at this point. And I'm going to use some scraps. I'm going to use, this is a piece of paper, I think I actually used several pieces of paper from an old hip kit from a few months ago that had a variety of papers in it. I think there's some Dear Lizzie, some Paige Evans, and even an exclusive hip kit paper. I think the paper I just used was an exclusive. But I wanted to create sort of a hot pink, peachy orange color scheme, And those were just the papers that I dug through when I pulled out the bag of stuff. I thought, I'm going to find something in this bag and I'm going to use it. And it worked, you know. I tried to challenge myself sometimes to just use what's within reach at my desk. And so that's what I did here. Now this is a crepe paper. I believe this is from Cute Girl, and I love those scallops. And so I took some time and cut one of those out, and I'm going to use that some way, somehow, because my picture is black and white. The flowers have a lot of black in them, and I'm going to pull in that black and white paper in the background, even though I'm going to use pink cardstock as my base. And I think it turns out kind of cute. And it's fun to mix and match, and it was surprisingly fun to just literally look under my desk where there's a bunch of stuff that should be put away but isn't, and just grab a bag and say, okay, whatever is in this bag, you need to make it work. And it was an old hip kit, and it did work, and I was happy with it. And these flowers make it look unique, I guess, because everything else that I'm going to use, you know, is from a collection or from a kit. And so the flowers were, you know, handmade, I guess you could say. And so it kind of makes everything look a little bit different when you add in something that you made yourself. So I'm just going to do a bunch of layers here. I've torn some paper, I've cut some paper. That pink paper behind the picture I'd used for a cut file, and I just made it work for what I had left. And so I glued all that together, so now it moves as one big unit, and I don't have to worry about reassembling it later. This is white gesso, and I'm putting it around where the photo and paper clusters are going to go. I'm going to add some color to the background here. Okay, this is the second stamp set that I use, the fall colors, and I'm not going to use any of the leaves because this is not a fall layout. I'm going to use some of the abstract shapes here, and this is like a real small grid type stamp. And I'm going to use that as just some background interest and texture. It's not really serving an actual purpose, as, you know, it doesn't have anything to do with the flowers or anything like that. It's just some texture. And I'm practicing there on the actual paper behind where my picture is going to go, because you're not going to see that. So that's a good place to practice stamp. And I also use that piece on the side. It's perfect for stamping the date. I'm actually going to use that later on again, but I just stamped it on each side so you can kind of see a black outline peeking from behind everything. And believe this, don't be shocked. You probably will be shocked, but I say this now, I could be wrong, but I don't think I used the packaging technique on this. I'm going to use gelatos, and I'm going to use pink and light pink, and I believe a little bit of red, and I'm just going to add a little bit of water and smudge it with my finger. I wanted that pink color kind of coming out from behind everything, and I used archival waterproof ink with the black ink, and so I can do all kinds of things like this with water and smudging, and it does not smudge the ink. But if it did, that would be fine, because I'm all about the smudging, so, but it didn't. So off camera, that magically appeared, didn't it? I stitched a circle in black ink around everything. I traced it with a circle template thing that I have, and then I just used black thread, and just went around the circle, just to kind of add a little bit more of that graphic black look, and to kind of keep everything sort of inside the circle. It just kind of grounds everything, I think. So this is where I'm going to use the triangles from the Happy Art stamp set. And they actually wind up being very subtle. You don't really see them a lot. And I went back to those Prima chalk inks, and I wanted to kind of jazz up the circle. And so I just did some light stamping with those open triangles kind of around there. And then once I saw that it wasn't going to be very visible, I kind of stopped, and I didn't go around the entire circle. So it kind of goes from the top and the bottom and then fades out. Add a little bit more gelato work here. I guess my main thing with this, I was challenging myself to not go too big with this. I wanted to keep everything kind of tight around the circle and the photo, and I felt like, you know, if I start doing the packaging technique, then I'm going to have ink way up top, way down bottom, and it's just going to be covering the entire layout. And I wanted to keep it kind of concise and tight around the picture. And so that's why, you know, the gelatos were good for that, because I could write or scribble where I wanted it and then just do a little bit of smudging, and there it is. I did cut another piece of scallop paper and add it to the top and the bottom there, and then I'm going to add in some black thread, and I've got the flowers, I think, pretty much where they're going to go. And I like how this is looking. It's so fun to create embellishments with stamps. I think my favorite thing to do is to stamp them on scrap paper and cut them out, because then you can just move them and add them wherever you want them. And they create great dimension, especially flowers like this, because, you know, they're not going to glue down completely flat unless you glue them down. But I like that, you know, flowers are supposed to look dimensional, and so the leaves, or not the leaves, but the edges of the petals curl up, and it just gives your paper, why am I saying all the wrong things today? It gives your layout some depth and just makes everything look like it's just coming right off the page. I went back to that little grid stamp there, and I'm just stamping it around to kind of edge out more of that messy grunge look on the background. I pulled out some random stickers. I have several pages of some Me and My Big Idea stickers that I got from Michaels a few months ago, and I'm going to be using some of the puffy stickers from the Cute Girl Crate Paper collection. I did a little more stitching right there through the scallops on the left and the right, and I used a orangey coral color. More splatters, and these are shimmers, so I did use some liquid on my page, but just not in the packaging technique way. And this is a light coral color that I added on there. Now, I struggled with the title. I wasn't sure what to do. I did cut this word out from one of the Crate Paper papers, and it's Sisters. And on the puffy stickers from this collection, they have the word Sisters, but it also contained yellow and teal, and so I didn't want to introduce any other colors to this, and so I just added Sisters right there on top of the photo, and then I'm going to add this big love piece, mainly because it's black and I love the way it looks right there. It's the perfect size. And then these are a couple of clear stickers from those Mombi sticker sheets. That one says something about a fun time. This is a heart that matches perfectly. And I hem and hawed a lot. I went back and forth trying to find just the right stickers, and a lot of them were perfect, but they were the wrong color, because this one is, I guess you could say, a monochromatic, mostly pinks and corals, and so I didn't want to put one thing that was yellow or one thing that was teal, because, you know, it would stand out and I would have to go back and add that in elsewhere, and I didn't want to do that. That's a little sticker that says Soul Sisters. Thought it was cute and it matched, so it's going to go right there. And then this is another, actually I used this before. It's that little label from the Fall Colors stamp set, and it's kind of messy and crooked, and I love that. It's perfect for adding the date, or you can stamp it a few times and do some journaling, and you can fussy cut that out and make journaling strips. Is another good idea. I'm just going to use it for the date, and the date stamp set is perfect. It's got the days of the week, it's got the months, it's got all the numbers, it's perfect. I gotta add the comma, of course. So one of the last things I'm going to do is add in some lines and then my journaling. I got some new Sharpie pens, yay, and so it's writing perfectly for the time being. And then the last thing I'm going to do is add some black ink splatters to finish it off. And that's the final layout. I love how it looks. It looks very bright, but that background is pink. Sometimes it's hard to get just the perfect colors when you're photographing, but that's the layout. I love how it looks. I love those flowers. They were so fun and easy to make. And you could do this on pattern paper. You could color them a different color. You could leave them as is. So many possibilities. Stamps are very, very fun because you can just make them your own and do whatever you want. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope you guys give your stamps a try and see what you can come up with. Let me know if you have any questions about any of these stamp sets or anything regarding Precious Remembrance Shop, and I will see y'all in the next video. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you have a great day.